We have so many stories in our lives, but our stories are not always heard. On the Hear My True Story podcast, we tell our own true stories.
Before the white hair backed, our head teacher had scattered. Looking at him, I could only see his tie that was flying backwards, waving at us, and he disappeared in thin air.
I want to share my life story. I want to share my voice with the people because I know that just a small joke I can tell through this podcast, it will make someone smile.
When you ask me what I fear most in life, I would definitely respond to you and say it's fear itself.
We are fighting for togetherness. We are fighting for equal rights. We are fighting to end injustice.
You don't have to be a storyteller or writer because, guess what? Life writes the best stories.
Hear my true story.
Who ate Nsangi? That was the question in the village. Everyone was very angry. We want our kid back. The monsters were aligned. And the song was going because they were asking, if I forget, can you remind me about that what the Nsangi used to say?
I mean, if I remember well, it goes like this for our dear listeners. It is in Luganda, but I'm not a Muganda. And my Luganda is also not very good, but I speak Lusoga.
Yeah.
Anyali Nsangi. Wanze sinalya Nsangi. Sebuto bute mabega yali Nsangi. Oh my God. Interesting, yeah. I mean, I didn't know how to have a good voice for music. I think.
This is your favorite time of the week with your number one podcast.
Hear my true story.
Yo, our dear listeners, welcome back again this week. It is me, your host, Otako. Yes, I'm always excited to have you every week. What is so special about this week is that we are having a wonderful guest that we have been hosting most of the time on this wonderful podcast. Yeah, this is Hear My True Story, where we tell stories, we share personal experiences based on real life experiences. Yeah.
This week's special guest on your favorite podcast.
Hear my true story.
Nsangi wange, Nsangi mwana wange, woli kulaboti, woli genda nange. Nsangi wange, Nsangi mwana wange, woli kulaboti, woli genda nange. Nsangi obanga mufumintiriza mu buli kyokola, obanga mwegendereza mu ntambula zo. Nsangi gulawo amatu, bigambo bya makulu, bigambo bya muwendo, kino kye kirisa engabo erikuma. Nsangi Nsangi wange, Nsangi mwana wange, oli kulaboti, oli genda nange. Nsangi wange, Nsangi mwana wange, oli kulaboti, oli genda nange. tu mwana wange teweerabiranga gy'osibuka ne w'oliba ogenzeeyo ku mawanga ojjukiranga olulimi olwaffe Oluganda olwagazise abato abaliddawo Nsangi mwana wange y'ensibuko yaffe Nsangi wange mwana wa ddati oyo Nsangi mwana wange mwana wa mami oyo olikulaba oti oligenda nange Nsangi gwe Nsangi wange Nsangi mwana wange Nsangi olikulaba oti oligenda nange
Nsangi wange Nsangi mwana wange olikulaba oti oligenda nange.
You guy, wow. I know, I like your music. I listen most of the times to your music, and most times when I want to just relax, I listen to your music. When I'm riding my bicycle on a Sunday with the sun in summertime, I listen to the music. When I'm trying to calm down my little baby, my daughter, I also play your music and we dance, and then she's like quiet, you know.
That's so nice. Thank you so much.
You play nice music, and I can just make you an interesting story. Yeah, because there's a listener who really listens to your music most of the time. Yeah, the grandmother of my daughter.
Oh, wow.
And one time she asked me, what's the meaning of that song? Does it mean the name of my daughter? Because my daughter, she's called Ida. I was like, yeah, I need now to find the meaning of this wonderful song. And that's why I came here and said, okay, why not ask you, the artist of the music, what this song is all about. But anyway, before we start, I would like to introduce the entire episode so that people know what we are going to talk about in this wonderful episode. So, our dear listeners, thank you so much for joining us again this week. I have my guest here, and we shall be talking about so many things. But anyway, we are going to talk about this song that you heard in the beginning. The song is called Nsangi. We shall get to know what really inspired the artist to sing this song. We shall get to know what's the meaning behind the song. We shall get to know what really inspired the artist to tell this wonderful music. And also we shall get to know, okay, where does the role of music in our society, why it is really important for us to really have music in our daily life, maybe in our society, maybe in our communities. And so we shall get to hear his experiences. He's not just an artist, a musician, but also a music teacher, professional. And also we shall get to know how can someone do his music as a migrant with an immigration background, living in Europe and here in Germany, exactly. What they do and what you can do to really survive as a person. So that is going to be our conversation this week, and we hope that you enjoyed the episode with us. So, yeah, my good friend, I want my dear listeners to understand who is behind the microphone and who is behind the laptop. I know you have been a guest on this wonderful podcast for many times, and not forget you did the music in our introduction for the podcast, and we are still using your music because you are the one who created the music for that wonderful introduction. And we hope to have another music for our podcast
Yeah. Thank you for this opportunity.
Mm.
Again. Nsangi, Nsangi wange, Nsangi mwana wange, boli kulaboti, oligenda nange. Nsangi, Nsangi, obanga mufumitiriza mu buli kyokola, obanga mwegendereza mu ntambula zo. Nsangi gulawa amatu, bigambo bya makulu, bigambo bya muwendo, kino kye kirisa engabo erikuuma Nsangi wuliriza. Hello.
Yeah, I love this song.
Yeah, that's my new creation. By the way, to the listeners, my name is Matovu Edrine. I come from Uganda, but at the moment I'm living here in Germany. I work in the school, as Otako has already said, and I'm also doing music in my free time. That's why I can get to produce 2, 3 songs once in a while. You know, this busy schedule, I can't be producing music like every month, everyone. But I would like to do that. But once in a month or in a year, I make sure that I give out what I can. So I'm happy and I feel privileged to be part of this platform right now. And to my brother Otako, always to invite me and share my story and share my music. And, it's not really something small. I can't take it for granted. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So this brings me to the first question that I would like to ask you, my wonderful guest. I mean, you
Yes,
recently released this song. This song is called Nsangi,
Yeah.
Yeah, so really, I mean, this is your new song and it's been playing on all music platforms, listening platforms, and also it has been, being listened to. So many people can even listen to this wonderful song on the various platforms. Can you tell us maybe something that really inspired you? What was that inspiration behind it? What made you to give us this wonderful tune,
bigambo bya makulu bigambo bya muwendo
Actually, my music, I get inspired. First of all, I get inspired because I grew up in Uganda. I came to Germany when, of course, I'm already old. And I grew up in the community where we used to do music, dance, doing acting, and many other things. So I grew up like a strong background in Ugandan traditional folk music and dance. And I'm lucky that I really got this chance to understand the stories, traditional stories, folk stories from home, the music, the traditional music, and the dance. And most of my inspiration comes from all the music I produce, if you can listen to. First of all, I get more inspired from my culture, where I come from. And since I grew up in this kind of system, I've learned a lot of things through my culture. Just to listen to the folk songs, folk traditional music from my culture, it has a big message, a strong message of which I cannot just leave it here. By the time I came to Germany and facing different situations, passing through hardships there and then, and the inspiration for this music specifically came to the times like most of my friends started having their families. In saying this, like having their children, getting babies, and I'm already uncles everywhere. In every city I go to in Germany, I'm an uncle right now.
Yeah, when you come to Marburg, where I stay,
Yeah, yeah,
you'll be uncle. Yeah.
yeah. So when this situation came to me that now, okay, all my friends are really having their kids right now, and linking it up to how Germans love their language. First, like Deutsch, because you can't do anything without Deutsch for them. And that brought me to the situation where I have to reflect on my work. These people love much their language, of which languages carries, if I'm not mistaken, 70% of their culture, their heritage. Because through the languages, we do the storytelling, we do the music, we get to know the life of the people, the way of living. And Germans like much their language. And when you come here as a foreigner, the first thing you have to do is to learn their language if you want to live here, if you want to survive. And because of that brought me, because of this kind of environment, the Germans like much of their language. I reflected back. I said, of course, I'm in Germany here right now, but I come from Uganda and I belong to this kind of community. This brought me much to appreciate more also my language, my culture, my everything, because I see the love Germans show to their language, and I felt like, okay, Edwin, maybe this is the high time also for me to love my language. I had a question like from most of my friends asking me, Edwin, why are you doing most of your songs in Luganda? Because those songs, people, they don't understand Luganda. Why don't you put it at least in English? Now you're staying in Germany. Why can't you just put all your songs in German so that you can get a big audience? And I always tell them, that's a good idea. I really love it. I like it that people can understand my music. But remember also this, that we have been hearing since we were kids, songs coming from America, and we don't know the words, but we enjoy the songs. Also, I'm not going even far away from America, that in Africa, from different languages, and we love the song. For example, Oama Samero, Wakomokomboti. We don't know the meaning of the song, but actually those were the songs when we were growing up that our fathers, our mothers, we could dance and we could ask them what the meaning of Oama Samero, Wakomokomboti. Even we don't know the meaning of the word, but they were like hit songs. Everyone used to enjoy, and people would request for these songs. And this brought me to the point of like informing them. I was like, yeah, the idea is good that people can understand what I'm singing, but music is beyond just understanding the lyrics. Music is melody. Music is flow. It is love flowing. I'm talking to the soul. The soul does not speak a specific word. Because since we are all humans, when my soul speaks, another soul from China will understand what the soul is speaking. Though in the meaning of the word, it might not make sense to them, but they feel. So the music I do, I wanted more like people to feel it, not just a mere of like understanding the words and just leaving it there, but I'm talking to soul. And I feel like integrating using other languages. Of course, I have songs which have English, which have German sometimes, and Luganda combined. And I have a new project I'm working on right now with a brother of mine.
I'll ask you about the new projects.
Yeah.
So you talked about that the inspiration was the language.
Yeah.
And also the challenges that you faced here in German. That's what inspired you.
Specifically with the language. For this song, it was specifically the language, the love of the language, which brought me to the big picture of the culture. That's why I got the inspiration of doing this kind of song, passing my message through using this song.
Okay, thank you so much for that wonderful inspiration story to tell us what inspired you to make this wonderful song, Nsangi. Before I go on to the next question, I just want to tell our listeners, you talked about singing in Luganda. Luganda is one of the language that is spoken in Uganda and East Africa. You find it people understanding it, but it's a language from Uganda, from the Baganda people who are under Buganda Kingdom. So they speak Luganda, and it's a Bantu language. So most Bantu other tribes and languages can understand the Luganda language, which my friend, colleague, and artist sings his music using the Luganda language.
Enjoying this episode? Leave a review now.
Hear my true story.
Yeah, so I, as a Ugandan, I have had this kind of song, specifically in Nsangi. So I asked you this question: what inspired you? I thought you would tell me about the original traditional song, which is also called Nsangi. You know, in Uganda, we sing this song as children, Nsangi, which is a traditional song. We grew up. It's not I think it's a children song. We sing it traditionally, and through singing it, we have been like talking to people and telling our own stories and hearing it. So I thought you were inspired by that same song. So can you maybe please tell us something about that original song, that just like in Nsangi, what is the story behind original song that is also called Nsangi? Were you inspired by it, or you'd never thought about it?
Actually, as I said before, that I was inspired by the folk songs also in Uganda, but specifically to Nsangi. Nsangi, most of the people take it as a song, but actually it's a folk story. It is a story which were told to kids long time ago. Though most of the stories in Uganda specifically, you can't ignore singing or music in them. Every song, every story you hear, there's part where the music comes from. So it was a story. I don't know if there's time for me to tell you a little bit of the background, what the story was all about Nsangi, or I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I would like our dear listeners to know that story, that children's story about Nsangi. For me, it is really inspiring to hear what is not all the story, but maybe what is the, a small picture, a small imagination for the listeners.
Yeah. Actually, the story of Nsangi, long time ago, there was a kid called Nsangi, and he was living with the mother and the father. Both were deep in the village, and the kid was alone most of the time at home. So the mother and the father used to go out. The father to go for hunting and for mother to go for farming. But wherever the mother would go out, in that village, there was monsters, if I'm to say, like monsters who used to eat kids. So when the kids are like playing outside, they are not at home or they are alone somewhere, it was kind of like a dangerous place to be. So in this village, this kid called Nsangi, the mother loved her so much. And they reached an agreement of like whenever the mother was going out for gardening and coming back at night, the kid could stay in the house and lock herself there. And by that time, we could say there was no phones, there is no WhatsApp, no kind of other communication, that we could just text the kid that I'm coming back home, open the door. So the mother brought an idea, telling this kid that I'm going to tell you a story, or I'm going to sing for you a song. But when I sing this song, you open for me. When someone comes in to this house and tells you to open, please don't open. Even if it is me, when I come and I don't sing this song, I will not open the house, because that will be another person or a monster will eat you. So the song could be, I'm not sure that I could recall the whole song, but it was like, Sanji mwana wange, Sanji mwana wange, boli kulaboti, boli genda nange, Sanji gula wonku wobulo. So the song was, it used to go like that. And the kid would listen and was like, okay, this is the key. When I sing this song, when I come back from the garden, you open the door. If I don't sing this song, or if anything, if someone comes and knocks and wants to open, don't open the door. So one day, the mother went to the garden and came back and was singing, Nsangi mwana wange, oli kulaboti, boli gena nange, Nsangi gulawo nkuwa obulo. And the kid had the voice of the mother, and that was the cue, and opened the door, and we were very happy. Yeah, and the mother was very happy that the kid understood what she was talking about, and everything was well. The next day, the mother went out to the garden, and the monsters, of course, wanted to eat Nsangi because Nsangi was a beautiful kid, and they really wanted to eat Nsangi according to the story. So they heard the mother singing at night this song to the kid, and the kid opened the door. So when mother was away, one of the monsters came to the door, and they sang, Nsangi, Nsangi, oli kulebere, oli gena nange, Nsangi gula onkuwa obulo. Nsangi said, this is not the voice of my mother. This is someone else. I will not open the door. So Nsangi never opened the door. And the monster was very disappointed. And he had to find a very good way of how he motivates the kid to open the door and to have her. So the monster went outside. By those times, we had like the witchcraft, the witch doctors. So the monster went to the witch doctor and talked to him and said, I want to have a voice like of a woman, not with a bass, like I go Nsangi, like the mother sings. The witch said, that's very easy. Take this medicine. You take it. But when on your way, going back until you sing this song, don't eat anything, don't drink anything. And the monster said yes. So on its way, the monster from there at night, he came back and he wanted to sing this song so that he can eat Nsangi. On the way, the monster saw a fly. There was a beautiful fly flying. And the monster was very angry, wanted to eat. The monster forgot that the criteria for this medicine to work, don't eat anything before you sing. The monster on the way coming to home, to this place, he ate the fly. And when time he came to the door to sing for Nsangi, the voice was already back. Nsangi, Nsangi, oli kulaboti, oli gena nange, Nsangi gula okuobro. The kid realized this is not the mother. She never opened the door. And the monster was very disappointed, went back to the witch. And the witch said, did you eat anything on the way going back? Oh, the monster remembered, yeah, I ate a fly. He said, I'm giving you this medicine again. I advise you, please, don't eat anything or drink anything. Just go and sing. The voice will be there. This time, it worked out. Never ate anything and came and sang like a mother. Nsangi, Nsangi, oli kulaboti, oli gena nange, Nsangi gula onkuwa obulo. The kid was, of course, confused. She opened the door. Unfortunately, she was eaten by the monster. But there were a lot of monsters. After the mother came back and saw that Nsangi was not there, he went to the village chief. They organized a big occasion of hunting all the monsters at the village. And they got all the monsters. They lined them up. So looking for Nsangi. Who ate Nsangi? That was the question in the village. Everyone was very angry. We want our kid back. The monsters were aligned. And the song was going because they were asking, if I forget, can you remind me about that what the Nsangi used to say?
I mean, if I remember well, it goes like this for our dear listeners. It is in Luganda, but I'm not a Muganda. And my Luganda is also not very good, but I speak Lusoga. Ani alidde Nsangi nze sinalya nsangi sebbuto mabega yalidde nsangi. Oh my God.
Butu nga siridde nsangi.
Interesting, yeah. I mean, I didn't know how to have a good voice for music. I think.
Yeah, and actually that was the question. Yalidde nsangi. Sinaba kulya nsangi. Sebbuto mabega yalidde nsangi. So that was the first monster. They checked the first monster. Of course, the first monster did eat the nsangi. They took it to the side. The second monster, sinaba kulya nsangi, sebbuto mabega yalidde nsangi. The second monster was put at the side after being checked. The third monster came. Who ate the nsangi? Sinaba kulya nsangi, sebbuto mabega yalidde nsangi. Then they came to the last monster, which was full, satisfied with nsangi. The stomach was so big, even so tired. They asked the nsangi, ani alidde nsangi? They said, wait a minute, sir. There is no anyone behind you. It is only you, the monster, who is last. And you say it again. And the monster said, I'm not the one who ate nsangi, but it was very tired. Someone who was very satisfied. The kid was inside. And the monster said, okay, cut here my finger and see if nsangi is there. When they checked the big nsangi was there. And from that story, they cut it short from there. But now the question comes in. What was the story? What was the lesson from this story for the kids?
Okay, yeah, that's the thing I would like to know, as because recently I got a young, beautiful daughter, and the moment I got her, I started singing songs for her to sleep, sometimes to have her, like when she's to calm down. The moment I sing in Luganda or in Lusoga or in a song in Swahili, she really calms down. And I was looking for songs, and I fell on this song, Sanji, Sanji, Sanji. And then I heard your song, and I started playing your song as I sing sometimes for her, that song, and then she calms down, which is really wonderful. That's I can say. Your song really calms people down. Even a small baby calms down. Anyway, so what is the meaning of what is the message? The major message from that song?
The story.
Yeah, from the original story, but also maybe what you think a child can learn from such a thing.
I think our parents, our elders used to, this story teaches us to respect them, that to hear what they say, because many things can happen to us. Like when you do this happens. When you do this, so it's like respecting and hearing our elders. And this all this story was giving us that picture of how the kid in the society could be treated, because long time ago, even right now, sometimes in Uganda, you feel that the kid is raised in the community, because when you hear the story of what happened to Nsangi, everyone got up, the whole village got up looking for Nsangi, of which brings that kind of like the unity, the community feeling in our societies. That if it was only the parents of Nsangi, maybe they could not get Nsangi back. But it was like the community standing up and being one, being like one family, being in a community, that the kid is raised together, respecting the elders. And of course, it's such a beautiful story of which when you listen to it as a kid, there are certain imaginations as a kid. Now I'm reasoning as an adult. But as a kid, there are all imaginations of seeing how Nsangi looks, how the monster could walk, how the monster could talk, how the monster could eat. They start imagining the village, how it is. It is so. As an adult, sometimes we get limited to imaginations. But as a kids, for them, they live in more fantasy. They can fantasize it, and they get more lessons of which they will not tell us. So sometimes it's good to tell a story, to tell stories to the kid. For them, they will get their reason. And I learned it from professionals like you and from Mene, from my experiences it. When you tell stories, and I also learned it from my professors, when you tell stories, make sure you don't ask people what they learn from the story. Let them, everyone, interpret the story for themselves, and they get their different lessons. Because when you start limiting their perception about impressions about the stories, then the hidden meaning of stories will, of course, die away. So you just tell a story to the kid and leave the kid. Don't interpret the story to the kid.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I get that. I mean, like for me, as when I was a child, we used to like these stories when we were like with our grandparents, and they could tell us these stories, and you could start imagining someone who's being eaten by a big monster, and then they tell you, okay, what should you do? You should listen to your elders, which is respect. You know, just like you said, respect, listen to elders. And also, there's a saying in Africa: it takes a village to raise a child. So the entire village comes up to raise a child, to protect the child. So I see how there are so many lessons that someone can learn from such a good story.
Hear my true story.
Yo, how dear listeners, we cannot continue beyond now. And for that reason, I would like to say, join us in the next episode of this same conversation. I'd like to say bye for now.
We not only have voices for a podcast, but also faces for YouTube. Don't miss your next episode. Hear my true story.